Welcome back, sports fans, on this episode that hits just a few days before Father's Day, which is Sunday. So, if you plan to get your father something and you haven't yet, here is your advance notice. Go ahead and get your dad something. We want to encourage you. Both of us are fathers, and we want to encourage you to have a good Father's Day. If you have a good father, to celebrate him. If you miss him, we're with you. We understand that
Absolutely.
hurt. If you had a bad father, please know you can be a good father.
That's right.
And so, I think about my dad, who's still with me, and I'm blessed by that. And going to him taking me to college football games when I was a kid, and taking me to minor league
Absolutely.
baseball games and professional baseball games, and just the bond that sports can have between a father and a son. So, it's a pretty cool holiday, Darren.
Absolutely. It's like you said, you can celebrate if your father is here with you or has gone on ahead of you, whatever the case is, you can still celebrate that legacy. Or in the case that maybe you didn't have the best of fathers, you can create your own legacy and by the father you choose to be. So it's still a day to celebrate and be able to enjoy and be with family.
When I think of Father's Day, Darren, I always think of the movie Field of Dreams,
Okay.
and the part at the end where he says to his father, "Do you want to have a catch?"
Oh, yeah.
Lump in the throat
Oh, yeah.
every time.
Allergies, dust.
And I know it's coming. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
how many times have I watched this movie? I know it's coming.
And you can be flipping through cable and stumble into the 5 minutes before that, and you know you're going to finish it. You're not going to flip past it, and it still catches you like you didn't see it coming.
One of the
Absolutely.
Just such a great movie. And
Oh,
speaking of baseball, we've got SEC baseball to
that's
talk
right.
about because we are now in, do you want to say it, Darren?
Omaha.
Omaha. Omaha. The College World Series field is set, 8 teams. This episode drops on Thursday, so it starts the day after this
It's
episode
here.
drops. So you get a
That's
little
right.
bit of a preview from us,
That's right.
but we're excited about this. Not so crazy about LSU and Arkansas
No,
facing off in the first game, the two best teams going head to
not at
head
all.
right off the bat. Ouch.
Yeah.
It's going to make for
It,
great ratings, though.
it's going to make for great ratings. And honestly, it'll make for a great opening game. I mean, that will be, uh, I would be shocked if that's not the best game of the opening round with those two teams. I don't get it at all. That you look at Arkansas and Tennessee and LSU, and Arkansas and Tennessee had to fight each other just to get to Omaha to play LSU. That's silly to me. I don't understand that, and I don't think we would ever see a scenario where let's just go ACC. They have good teams from time to time. I don't think we would ever see a scenario where Duke had to fight Wake Forest just to get to North Carolina in Omaha. It wouldn't happen. They wouldn't set it up that way. It's very frustrating to me. I don't understand that. It's like they set them up to pick each other off, and that's okay. We'll still be excited when it's Arkansas or LSU that wins the national championship. Obviously, more excited if it's LSU, but either way, when the SEC wins the championship, it'll still be exciting.
There are some Cinderella teams this year. Murray
That's
State,
right.
what an incredible story.
Awesome.
Coastal Carolina,
Oh,
incredible. So there's some intriguing storylines. You have your perennial contenders that you got the LSU, Arkansas, LSU going for the 20th time in 40 years.
that's
It's pretty
awesome.
phenomenal.
That's so incredible.
Arizona, who has a rich heritage baseball
Yep.
tradition, they're back in it this year. Louisville is in it. When you look at the field outside of the two SEC teams, Darren, who
Mhm.
really stands out to you?
Well, the first thing I have to say as a Vanderbilt fan is Louisville and Oregon State stink. I'm just going to go ahead and get that out there. Can't stand either one of them. There's been quite the tough, well, with Louisville season and postseason, and then Oregon State. Goodness gracious. So I'm glad to whoever loses that, I'm okay with that. It's not going to hurt my feelings. Outside the SEC, I just don't. I don't know the answer to that, truthfully, because you look at Arizona, you look at UCLA. I mean, obviously, Oregon State looks strong, but I refuse to acknowledge that. I think they could be undefeated, and I still wouldn't acknowledge it. I mean, they're strong. That's probably one that a lot of people are going to lean on, but I would say probably like somewhere out of an Arizona, you know, probably would be, of course, if it can't be, I want it to be an SEC team. If it can't be an SEC team, though, I'm excited about a Murray State or a Coastal Carolina. How incredible of a story would that be? I mean, that would be beyond incredible. So, obviously, top priority is SEC, but if it can't be SEC, let's go Cinderella story. I'm all in. I'll take it. Either one of them.
It's finally here. It's going to be fun to watch. Looking forward
Yes.
to the game starting on Friday. The first game is 1 o'clock on Friday afternoon. So you have two games on Friday, games on Saturday, and it just it gets rolling. And before we know it, we're going to be talking about who the new College World Series champion, national champion is.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Speaking of champions, we witnessed last week the crowning of a new national champion in the women's softball, and that is Texas has finally climbed the summit, getting past the Sooner mystique, even though they
Yeah.
played Texas Tech in the
Yeah.
championship series. But congratulations to the Longhorns on a big win for that program.
Yeah, that's a big thing. And of course, yeah, you and I talked about it, and I don't think we were alone in saying really kind of expected it to be Oklahoma, Texas in the finals, and Oklahoma to pull off the national championship. But Texas Tech took advantage of their opportunity, and Texas capitalized. I mean, Texas Tech still made it. Let's see, Texas Tech won the middle of the three games, if I remember correctly. So they still made it tough on Texas. Did Texas sweep?
I thought it was 2-0.
Oh, it could have been. It could have been. I might have been looking at
Yeah.
like an earlier because then they play earlier or something. That could have been.
But that's so Darren, you have such a kind heart. You want to give Texas Tech some
I
credit.
do.
You want to build them up. So that's
Well, Texas Tech is the only school that we've ever talked about that we actually have players from one of their teams on the record saying they love listening to us. So we gotta give them props whenever we can.
we
But
definitely don't want to down the good people in
no,
Lubbock.
that's exactly right. But good for Texas. Awesome. They took advantage of their opportunity, regardless of who they played in the finals, and they capitalized on it and won that national championship. So good for them.
Congratulations to Texas.
Yes.
So that takes us over to some conversation about the upcoming college football season as we continue to count down the days, the Saturdays until
That's
college
right.
football returns. And that leads us to ESPN, which at times can be great in their sports coverage and other times can be so far out that you scratch your heads and you wonder what is going on in Bristol, Connecticut.
Yeah,
Are they
exactly.
that far removed from the rest of the world?
Yeah.
So
Eh,
you've assembled something that just you showed it to me. We talked about it before the show, Darren.
yeah.
It just blows my mind. Go ahead
Eh,
and tell us about it.
It's a little mind blowing. So ESPN does what they call their college football power index or their FPI, football power index. And it's a measure of team strength, strength of schedule. It's meant to be a predictor of performance, all of this stuff that honestly, you honestly wonder if they calculated any of it and just almost feels like they kind of used words to describe it that they knew would be good in Google. That, that would improve their Google score and pop them up like ESPN needs that. But anyway, supposedly they have a power index that is a predictor of performance and shows the team's strength, blah, blah, blah. It's probably not the best way to end it, but it's truth. You'll see when we get on this list. So they put out, according to their FPI, what this year's SEC football standings will look like after the final series. So what we're going to do is look at these in two different groups. Group teams 9 through 16 and 1 through 8. And you'll also notice out to the side is a percentage number. And according to the ESPN FPI, this is the percentage chance that each school has of winning the SEC championship this year. And that's going to be interesting and really kind of get your attention as well. So let's start, if you're ready, with 9 through 16. All right. So I'll ask first, 9 through 16, anything that stands out to you?
Not much love for Oklahoma or Florida.
No.
How about Vanderbilt after their season last year? Boy, talk about a 0% chance. Disrespect. I understand Mississippi State. Boy, they had a rough
Exactly.
year, and Jeff Levy's really got to turn that around this year.
Yeah. And got to do it in a hurry, which doesn't look like the FBI thinks he's going to do to be predicted at 16. I tell you, one of the things that stands out to me is you look at the bottom half of the conference here, and basically the ESPN FBI says no one has more than a 2% chance of winning the championship. None of these 9 teams have more than a 2% chance. I also find it interesting after the way South Carolina ended the year, and with everything they've brought back, the offseason chatter they're already getting, that we're, according to ESPN, we're looking at them again in the bottom half of the league. They don't even bump it up to the top half of the league. So I find that very interesting as well. Honestly, you say not too much love for Vanderbilt. Truthfully, I think it's an indicator of just how good Vanderbilt's season was last year, with even as bad as Mississippi State is or was last year, and people talking about they might be this year or this coming year. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, Vanderbilt would have still been 16. So I think it's an indicator of how incredible their season was last year and just how much attention Diego Pavia is getting, that they bumped up to 15. To me, that's almost a sign of showing some love for Vanderbilt to not be number 16. It's unfortunate, but I think that's the truth.
So what I hear you saying is they're moving on up.
Oh, yeah.
To the top. Come on, Darren.
15.
To a deluxe apartment in the sky. I don't sing it as well as George Jefferson.
And fun fact you should know, the singer of that theme song on the show was the next door neighbor in the show Good Times.
JJ.
So, JJ, it was JJ's next door neighbor is who Walona was the character's name. There you go. Fun facts you should know.
That is dynamite.
Well done.
How cool is that?
Use that. We will use that cut many, many times. That is dynamite.
Well, what? I'm curious. Let's look at the top half. If at the bottom half, no one has even a 2% chance of winning. What's the top half look like?
All right, here we go. Here is 1 through 8.
Did ESPN move their headquarters from Bristol to Austin?
Apparently. And took part of them, dropped part of them off in Auburn on the way to Austin, because Auburn at number 8 ahead of South Carolina and Missouri.
Wow.
I don't know that I'm buying that. But notice, speaking of the percentages, Georgia and Texas, according to ESPN, are the only 2 schools in the entire conference that have more than a 25% chance of winning the championship.
Yeah, we talked before, Darren. Big expectations in Austin with Arch Manning finally taking the starting quarterback position. A lot's riding on his shoulders.
Yep.
Georgia, though, wow. I know the quarterback situation may not be as settled in Athens as it is in Austin.
Right.
But you still want to bet against Kirby Smart?
See, that's the thing. I mean, how many times have we seen him do it over and over and over again, including last year? I mean, how many times it wasn't the perfect end to the season, but they were still incredible, and they still were at the right place at the right time most of the time.
Yeah, looking at Alabama, Kalen
Yeah.
DeBoer, he's got his offensive coordinator,
Hmm.
but they've got, uh, unless something changed recently, 3 guys competing for the starting quarterback
Exactly.
position,
Exactly.
no definitive starter. So, golly, A&M, they have their starting quarterback, Marcel Reed.
Yep.
They've got their start. Tennessee, they've got the kid that transferred from UCLA via App State.
Exactly.
Uh, LSU, 3.5. They've
At
got
six.
a quarterback that's in every Heisman conversation that
Yeah.
I've heard so
Exactly.
far.
Exactly.
And they got wow.
I don't. Alabama,
Somebody spent way too
honestly.
much time on Bourbon Street.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And to say that, to me, if you look at how they have everybody spaced out, so according to this, Alabama is going to be 2 teams better than LSU, 2 spaces better than LSU, and LSU is only going to be 2 spaces better than Ole Miss. I'm sorry, Auburn. I don't. That doesn't make any sense to me at all. I don't see any of that placement. I don't understand Tennessee at 5. I'm a Josh Heupel believer. I think he's going to do more than non ESPN people think he can do this year with everything that's happened on that roster. But I'm not buying top 5. I don't think. I've got to really think through that. And by the way, hint hint, there might be a top 5 list coming in the next couple of weeks. So maybe Tennessee's in it, maybe they're not. But my gut reaction is, man, there's been a lot going on in Tennessee to say I have no doubt that this Tennessee team is going to finish and be stronger than LSU. That seems
Yeah.
odd to me. And I guarantee you that, and this has more to do with, yeah, especially ESPN bias toward like a Tennessee than it is saying that LSU is necessarily taking it on the chin. But if it was flipped, if LSU had an upheaval at quarterback and Tennessee had a Heisman hopeful, a Heisman favorite, you think LSU would be 5 and Tennessee would be 6? No
No,
way,
no.
not a chance in this world. And you definitely wouldn't be talking about Tennessee or LSU having, Tennessee having less than a 5% chance or less than a 4% chance of winning the SEC title. I I can see Texas and Georgia at 1 and 2. Don't know that I necessarily buy into the order, but I can see them being the top 2 teams. I think 3 through 6 is off in several different ways. I don't know that I buy A&M being all the way up to 4, and I definitely, and it's one of the first things that stood out to me. I definitely don't buy Auburn being in the top half of the league. I mean, they might surprise us, but I don't know that I buy it.
It makes you wonder. There's an old saying in public relations, there's no such thing as bad publicity.
That's right.
And you put out an insane list like this,
Yep.
who cares what people say if they're talking about the list that your network put out there, that
Yep.
your
That's right.
people put out there. You've kind of accomplished your purpose of getting people talking about it, getting more exposure. I don't know
Hmm.
if that's what they did, but if I'm LSU and any of these teams that look at this list and they have such a small percentage of winning the SEC,
Yep.
I keep these receipts. I
Yeah.
keep these
Agree
receipts.
completely.
Uh,
Agree completely.
you can argue Tennessee at 5 because they've got an outstanding defense. LSU, their defense is not going to be too shabby, and Blake
Exactly.
Baker is getting the
Exactly.
guys that he wants in the positions where he wants them to play. So don't look past that at all. And it boggles my mind that you've got 2 teams on this list, Texas and LSU, that have quarterbacks that are mentioned as Heisman
Hmm.
candidates.
Hmm.
one is all the way up at number 1, and one's all the way down at 6. One has a 34% chance of winning. One is a 3.5%.
Exactly.
Do they not like Brian Kelly? What's the rationale behind this madness?
Well, ESPN's always had Longhorn euphoria. I mean, people fuss about the SEC network. When Texas was in the Big 12, they had their own network via ESPN. It was the Longhorn Network. So there's always been a little bit of Longhorn euphoria with ESPN anyway. And then you add Arch Manning into that. I mean, they were showing Arch Manning's high school football games down in New Orleans on ESPN when he was a junior in high school.
Wow.
I mean, it's everything they want.
Yeah.
But I think you make some very, very strong points. I can get saying Texas and Georgia is going to be the top, like I said, but this definitive where nobody outside of the top 3 is within double digits of Georgia, of within 25% of having the same chance as Texas. To me, that feels like you haven't even watched the SEC. I mean, to say that it's that definitive that there's 2 teams that really are the only 2 teams that have a chance, that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
The best thing to do is keep the receipts, work your rear end off in the weight room in the off season, conditioning. That's when it's really going to show in the fall. I see bulletin board material here for a lot of teams, and use it to your advantage. Whichever team you are, if you feel disrespected, then put this up on your bulletin board and make this inspire you to work even harder this coming fall.
I think if I were Brian Kelly, I would get as many of these rankings at preseason, whether it be ESPN, On3, Athlon Sports, whoever. I'd grab as many of those as I could and make the numbers of whatever the ranks, 5, 6, 7, 8, anything but 1, and put those up all over. I would just wallpaper the weight room with all those different places that the know-it-all media says you're going to finish 5, 6, 7, 4, whatever it is. I think that's what I'd do. I'd remind them every time they walked in the weight room, nobody thinks you can be number 1.
Absolutely. You just got to get in that weight room and pretend like you are training in Russia for a huge fight against Ivan Drago, and nobody thinks you can win. Nobody thinks you can win.
I'm gonna have to go out and run up the snowy mountain now when we finish. I don't. It's cold enough,
brother. We're in Louisiana. You're gonna have to go like thousands of miles to find a snowy mountain.
Well, you're right. I'd have to go a long way to find a mountain too, not just snowy.
Yeah. Well, our Arkansas fans say, "Come on up to the Ozarks." You
don't have to go far. That's right. Might not be snowy, but we got a mountain.
And our Oklahoma people, what's the mountain range in Oklahoma? The Arbuckles.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Arbuckles, right. Yeah. So.
And the Texas people are saying, "Yeah, us neither. We don't have any. We got flat dirt. You can come walk across it if you want to."
That almost sounded like a Mississippi accent, not a Texas accent. You're blending your.
The Tennessee took a split. The Tennessee accent. That's the Texas and Mississippi.
Does that mean you're multilingual?
I am. I can write with both hands.
Oh, no.
Thank you,
folks. We've digressed far enough. We appreciate you watching the show. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button. Tell someone about the show. If you have some ideas for an upcoming show, something that we're not covering that you'd like to see us cover,
that'd be awesome.
Shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you and get your feedback. Enjoy the College World Series, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Until then, take care.
Have a great week.
Thank you for making the Brew and Shaver Sports Podcast your go-to sports show. Be sure to subscribe, rate, and review our show if you haven't already. Your feedback is so important. Let us know what you think about this week's show. Send an email to brewindshavers@gmail.com or a text to our text line 318-390-3599. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for listening to the Brew and Shavers Sports Podcast. See you next week.